Hello and welcome back to another episode of Sharissa Reads. We are on episode 5, and on this episode I'm going to share the book, A Simple Guide to the Paleo Autoimmune Protocol. Some people used to know that I was a nutritionist. I used to help coach people on how to reverse autoimmune disease in their body, and this is one of the books that I used for my personal journey with health, my personal struggle with autoimmune disease, and I was recently reminded of this book, and in looking back through it, I wanted to share so badly with all of you because it's not just about this one specific protocol. There is something called a Paleo Autoimmune Protocol, or AIP for short, and that is a very specific diet for people who are trying to reverse autoimmune disease using food as medicine. So if you're looking for an alternative route to the traditional Western medicine with all the things that you would take from a regular doctor, this is a different approach to using food to heal yourself. And by removing certain foods and by adding in other foods, the founders of the Paleo Autoimmune Protocol believe that you can reverse your autoimmune disease. And I did just that. So I was diagnosed with 4 autoimmune diseases back in 2016. And in just about 6 months of following this protocol, I was able to reverse all the antibody results in my body. So all of the tests that showed that I had really high antibodies for those autoimmune diseases, 6 months after following this protocol, those numbers were gone, meaning I had reversed that part of those troubles in my body. So it was pretty incredible. But this book is so much more than that, which is crazy because it's this tiny little book, and it's 140 pages, but the pages are packed with so much information, including information about what are circadian rhythms. Does everybody know what a circadian rhythm is? I didn't know that. Well, I mean, I know now, but I didn't know before that our sleep and wake cycles were controlled by our hormones, and those hormones are triggered by the cycles of the sun and the moon. So having exposure to the first morning light, turning off things after the sun has gone down so that the body can start to trigger that time for sleep, all of that plays into the circadian rhythm. And I was somebody who dealt with insomnia for most of my life. So in this book about autoimmune disease, there's a tiny little chapter on circadian rhythms and how to reset your circadian rhythm. There's also chapters on how to reduce your stress, how to go to restaurants and order when you have issues with food and food allergies. It also talks about what autoimmune disease is. The purpose of this book, written by Eileen Laird, she says in the introduction that she wanted to write a book that anybody who was dealing with any type of brain fog or fatigue or just complete burnout would be able to understand and read in this book. And so it really does kind of cross over into all health and wellness areas, not just autoimmune disease. So if you're suffering with any kind of ailments or things that you would like to change, or you just want to feel better in your day, this is such a good book for it. It's really reasonably priced on Amazon. I think it was like $8.99. And every now and then I go back and I look at this book and I just have to find like another little nugget. And I am so surprised every time I do. Even this chapter, okay, overcoming self-sabotage. This isn't just for autoimmune disease. This is for all of us when we're trying to start a new thing, start a new habit. I'm gonna read 20 pages a day. Like, how can I fight myself on this self-sabotage aspect? So it's so much more than just autoimmunity in such a tiny little book. And it seems like the more and more people that I meet, the more I'm realizing that autoimmunity is so much more widespread than I could have even imagined. When I first started helping people and started coaching people, I thought that it was like this really niche market of people that I was gonna have a really hard time. Like, how am I gonna find the people who have autoimmune disease so that I can help them? They're so, in my mind, few and far between. And it seems as if every conversation I've had in the last couple of months, when I bring up autoimmunity or autoimmune disease, they often refer back and say, oh, I also have da-da-da, or I also was diagnosed with celiac disease or Hashimoto's disease or endometriosis or any of these other rheumatoid arthritis, other things that we kind of get categorized in our health and our wellness. So when we're looking to change our well-being, when we're looking to change our body and how we feel, we refer back to how we can use food and manipulate food as medicine. And I love the detox diets. I love the protocols that everybody offers. There's the Whole30, which I'm totally a huge fan of the Whole30. I love the Paleo diet, and even there's a clean version of keto that I am totally on board with. But when it comes to just kind of getting one little, like that little pocket guidebook, that little book of like, I just need that, like a few little questions answered. What can I refer to? This is the book. And it doesn't have to even be relating to autoimmune disease. It can be relating to just in general how you feel in your life. This chapter here is on keeping a symptom journal. So that can be just how you're regularly feeling. Are you tired? Are you stressed? Do you regularly get tired at a specific time of the day? That's important stuff to recognize. Maybe you're always sleepy after you eat lunch, or maybe it's hard for you to wake up every single morning. These are things that we can be changing about ourselves by beginning to recognize them. So reading in this book and getting those little tiny bits and clues like stress reduction tips and how to journal about them and how to reset your circadian rhythm so that you're getting sleep so that you can heal properly. This book is just like a little treasure trove. And the cool thing about it is it's really small, it's bite-sized information, and it's written in a conversational way. So as if you were talking to a friend, as if you were getting advice from your friends, from your neighbor who's also been through the same struggles as you. And it's written for people who are struggling with their mental clarity. So if you can't remember things, like you're like, oh, I can't remember where my keys are, I can't remember the names of my kids, or I can't remember where I'm supposed to be going right now. And it's not just your regular normal place that you are mentally. It's maybe something new, maybe something that's a little bit frightening because you're like, oh, I can't remember those things anymore. That can be brain fog, and that can be this like fatigue that we're dealing with because of inflammation. So these types of books, this type of information where you learn how to let food help you and work for you, we can kind of eliminate those problems. But even when you're dealing with that, this book is still readable. You'll still be able to read it, understand it, and then use the information that you're learning from it. So I love this book. And it's written from somebody who has healed themselves, has worked to reverse the pain in their own body without using pharmaceutical medications and just using food as medicine and as healing. So when you're reading from somebody from that perspective, you know you can take their word because they've walked the walk and they're talking the talk. She also has a podcast called Phoenix Helix Podcast. I will put a link to it, or I'll tag the podcast underneath the video because it's so beautiful, and it's just all different people who come on to her podcast that talk about their own story and their own experiences with healing and their own healing journey. And there's something for everybody there. There's doctors, there's people that come on and give great advice. There's also people who are just sharing their story, like getting up and telling you how it's been for them. So really, really interesting, really fun stuff. And a great little pocket guide. And perfect just for like that little, oh, what could I be doing for my health better these days? And simple, super fun and simple and tiny and cute and kind and getting healthy, right? Strong. Okay, thank you so much for joining me again. Episode 5, wow. And I hope you guys like this book. If you have autoimmune disease, if you know somebody with autoimmune disease, recommend this book to them. And even if you're just trying to get healthy for yourself, it's such a good read. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for joining me.